Now you have to know, I left only because of David Miscavige at the time. I was really pissed off at him because he'd ripped us off and everything else. I wasn't against the tech at the time. I was just like against David Miscavige. So she goes, why are you leaving? And I said, it's really too much to get into in 2 minutes. Because the cops had all said, we can't, she has to decide. Stand back. She has to make the decision. So I talked to her and she goes, I just want to tell you one thing. I can get a message to David Miscavige tonight. And I looked at her and I said, you know what? I looked at the cop, I said, I picked them. And that was it. They helped me get out of the airport, and that was it.
Are you writing a book about your life?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Got a lot of details. I'll probably self-publish it, because letting me publish it, it's like I can't even stand the thought of that.
Let's do a few more questions.
Okay, yes.
When did you find out about Xenu and what did you think?
It's an interesting question, again, because of epilepsy. You have to remember, first of all, you got the big buildup to get onto OT3, to be allowed onto OT3, to get it. Now, I did it in 79. Now they've got a big whole course, kind of clarifying all the different volcanoes around the world and all kinds of stuff. But at the time, you just did the little course. They put me in almost like a closet. It wasn't any wider than these things, and a table. And I sit down, and it says 75 million years ago, an evil war. First Hubbard has a whole beginning. I nearly died doing this research, but I pulled through, and I've got it here for you. Now, me having epilepsy, which I got when I was 16 or 18, and I was studying Taoism and Buddhism and kind of looking for higher powers, I thought, wow. Because at first it was like 75 million years ago, the evil warlord Xenu blew up all these beings, and it's got the whole story, and I'm like, which, speaking of it, I brought the whole story, copies of it for everybody, so you can pass those around. But I read this thing and I think, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, that's my first thought. Has anybody read the book Blink in here? It's a great book. If you haven't read it, it's a fabulous book. But it talks about your instinct and how often your very first instinct is what's correct. My first instinct when I walked into Scientology is, who the hell are these people? I was a hippie. I fought against the war in Vietnam. Yeah, I protested against it. I was a free speech advocate. They're all marching around in their uniforms in the org board and all this stuff. I was like, So my first instinct was like, forget it. But then I met the people, and I thought, well, they're so nice. Okay, I'll go. And that's really when my critical thinking kind of twisted off. But now getting back to where was I? Because I got off on something. Where was I?
First time you saw Xenu.
Okay, so the first time I saw Xenu, my first thought was, you've got to be kidding me. This can't possibly be what OT3 is. But then I remembered, now wait a minute, doctors don't know what causes seizures. Maybe it's these BTs connected to me. Right? How do I know? And I went in session and seemed to be having these huge wins. Because remember, if you believe something enough, it's often true for you, right? And I was believing that I was getting rid of this body thetan, and thus I was getting rid of epilepsy, and now I got rid of this one, and thus I was getting rid of, and do you see what I mean? So I was like, people were saying to me, we have never seen someone look as great as you look on OT3. I did. I was physically changing. But then I finished the level where you're done with all the BTs, and I thought, might as well get off my medicine. I don't need it, right? And I ended up having status epilepticus, where I just had continuous grand mal seizures, and I ended up in Morton Plant Hospital. I nearly died from it. So that's what I originally thought of Xenu. And because it's part of the trap, you keep on. OT4 is like that, OT5 is like that, OT7 is like that. So you're always trying to handle these unknown BTs. Yes?
Before I ask a serious question, I've got to recite something that I read about 30 years ago and I've never forgotten it. L. Ron Hubbard went to his cupboard to get his poor dog a bone. When he got there, the cupboard was bare, so he shoved an e-meter up his dog's ass and charged him $100,000.
Good one.
But my serious question is...
That's a good one.
Just a correlation to the idea that there is something wrong with you because you have epilepsy. can be related to what evangelicals might say, because they can't be healed properly.
Right.
You're not spiritual.
Right. Exactly.
I've seen that.
It's the ultimate con.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
So so there, as Jim was saying at the very beginning,
Right.
There's big differences. There are
huge differences, but there are similarities. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
This is the matter of extremes. Cults are more extreme in their behavior than religions, but the techniques used are, essentially the same. One religious mythos is the same as the other. Moses parting the Red Sea is no crazier than Xenu. It's just, they're all the same. Cults just do it harder.
I think what's also
charge more money.
Yes, sir. I think what's also interesting is that the distinction can be drawn that Hubbard deliberately set about to take the trappings of religion and put them about that which had been taxed and that which he wanted to now make tax exempt. And that includes, once he got that cloak, that includes free labor, child labor, Social Security, workers' comp, all of the other protections that people who otherwise would be employees would get. Now they do not get.
With the established religions, they don't have to set that up. It's already set up for them.
Get close. See if you can get it. And you can put it on the net.
They already have that cloak of taxes.
Too close?
It's all a matter of agreement.
Right, well, they started as a religion, and who knows how. I don't know enough about religious history to say that they didn't already have their program, too, about trying to get their cloaking. But Hubbard deliberately and exposedly made quotes, such as, if you want to make some money, start a religion. And he even made quotes in his bulletins about transforming what had been a business into a religion. And Arnie Lerma, who's got a great website, lermanet.com, says they just dragged a cross through the door one day in 1969.
Yeah, Lermanet's on my card that I gave out.
I got a quick question about seems like it also might be sort of unique to Scientology, because you get to this point where finally you get the Xenu story.
Right.
Your reaction was, "You got to be kidding me!"
The first reaction.
Your first reaction.
Right.
So you're probably not the only one.
Oh no, very common.
And so people have, let's say, tens of thousands of dollars invested into this whole program, and you get to this point, and here's the payoff. Was there a conscious, or is there a conscious effort to deal with people? And I imagine, the psychology of it is pretty strong, and I'm way too deep in it now to say, oh my God, I've just pissed away.
That isn't even it. It's you're surrounded so much. Peer pressure is a huge part of Scientology. And just think of everyone in this room came up to you consistently for like a week telling you how fantastic you look now that you're on OT3. All of Scientology, just because you're on the level, doesn't matter. They can see you're better. They can tell. You look better. I can see you're walking faster. It doesn't matter. Whatever. They are delusional to the max, and they will surround each other, pumping that. So
all that trumps this, then.
Right, because think about it. If all of us for a week just kept saying to you all day long, "God, you look great. You're finally doing the OT3. Isn't it the best? Isn't it so great? Just to build up to it, it's like, wait till you get on it. You're not going to believe it, Jim. Okay, now you come out. Did you get it? Isn't it so cool? Now, even if you're going, what the fuck was that? You know what I mean? In your mind, because so many people are counting on you to go, it's fabulous. It's kind of like, it is. Now, and you believe it yourself. Now, by 7 didn't work for me at all, and I was not willing to lie about it, because that guy Barry Klein had lied about it to everybody for years. And so once I realized it didn't work, people would say, "Tell me your wins," and I'd say, "You know what? Get on it and check it out." That's all I'd say. And finally, Gold, who used to film me all the time, some guy came up to me and he said, "We need your wins for OT7." And I said, "You know what? Don't ever ask me that question again." They 86'd me. They never interviewed me again until right before I left Scientology forever. I'm in What is Scientology, which is really funny. Ha ha, DM. You screwed up. Because if your tech worked and I was so evil, you would have fixed it, wouldn't you? But anyway, I'm in what is Scientology. And it is a win. It's a real win. My mother and I agreed, and she hated Scientology, but we both agreed. I had 2 wins. One, I was a hippie. I wasn't like a real drug addict, even though Scientology is always trying to promote I am a drug addict, but I'm not, and I wasn't. But I was like a social hippie, right? And so you get in Scientology, they don't do drugs, so that's the last I ever did drugs. Secondly, I got connected up with my family, so those were my 2 big wins. But right before I left Scientology, they said, we're going to have Scientology successes, and we're going to put out this little booklet to everybody, senators, congressmen, every library, everything, and you're going to be in it. So they retook my picture, and they put it there. Now I leave, I escape out. 2 weeks later, I go to Boston. I'm there. I walk into Boston org. I said to Bob and Stacy, I don't want to be with you to pick it, because I wasn't up to that. But I said, let me just go in the org. So I walk in and I say, hey, my name's Tory Bazazian, and I'm a Scientologist. And I said, well, actually, I just left Scientology, so I guess I'm not a Scientologist. So maybe you better call HCO, which is Hubbard Communications Office, where they HCO call order, there's some horrible thing happening, right? And she said, well, I am HCO. And I said, good, then we don't have a problem. Why don't you give me a tour? I'm just kind of like jerking around with her, right? And my friend is in the lobby, and she goes, Tory, how are you? Come on over here. You're in the book. And she gets out the book. And I said, my first thought is, I'm never going to see that book again. You know what I mean? Because it's never going to go out. So I said, can I get a copy of that? So she gave me a copy, which we have in the video. I'm in the book. Which it never did go out. Nobody ever saw it. But I've got a copy of it.